Hey, Chad here. I've got a quick video to show you how to get set up in Sublime Text to be ready to write Clojure code. Sometimes it's a challenge when you're trying a new language and the editor that you use isn't the de facto editor of the language. So if you want to go ahead and open up Sublime Text, I'm assuming you have it installed and the ability to add packages. Apologies if you don't. You need to head over to sublimetext.com and grab it and packagecontrol.io and follow the instructions to get that set up. But if you know the keyboard shortcut, or if you go to the Tools menu, once you're in Sublime, we're going to go ahead and open our command palette, and we're going to say install and select install package. And the package that we want for Clojure is Sublime REPL. So start typing in Sublime, R-E-P-L, and you'll see it there, Sublime REPL, and hit enter. It's going to install it very quickly. Say that it was successful. It doesn't tell you to, but you need to close Sublime Text and reopen it for it to work properly. At least that's been the case for myself and some other people that I've seen set this up. Now I'm going to open a Clojure project that I have. I looked through the Clojure bridge, if you look that up online, Clojure tutorial for the Clojure bridge workshop. It's really great. It's actually a cool workshop. That's free for ladies interested in getting into programming and software engineering using Clojure. So really cool stuff. I'm going to open that project folder, and now I'm going to use Command T to search for the file I want to open, which is core.clj under source welcome to Clojure bridge. That's the file that I want. I am going to go into two-pane mode here and press Option Command 2, and then select my Clojure file again, and I'm going to open the command palette, and I am going to say REPL, and then arrow down to Clojure, and hit enter. And what's happening now is in the other pane, in the background, it is loading up a Clojure REPL. So we're going to wait for this for a few seconds. Yep, and it's going to pop back. So now we're ready. Now we're ready to kind of code and play around with this. So now over here on the right, it's just like if you've used this before and you're familiar with it a little bit. This is just like if you were to type line REPL in your terminal and you can start interacting with a REPL, or using it in another editor like Emacs or something. So I can do just a cheesy quick test. 1 plus 2. I get the result back 3, so I know that I have a live Clojure REPL functioning over there on the right. And then now over here on the left in my file, I am going to do a keyboard shortcut that allows me to evaluate this entire Clojure file in the REPL. So I'm going to press Control comma and then F. Control comma and then F. Control comma is the beginning of the sequence key sequence for any of the shortcuts for Sublime REPL, and then the letter that follows represents what you're doing. So you think of evaluate file. So what it did is you kind of saw it already happened while I was babbling, but it went through, it evaluated all the code, and because the Welcome to Clojure Bridge tests uses this graphical Clojure library called Quill, it pops up this really cool graphical thing that says welcome to Clojure Bridge. You are ready to code. It's kind of like a fun way to test this rather than just outputting some like math or text or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and close that and just show you a couple other quick things. If I was to hop down here in my file and just add our cheesy little math example of 1 plus 2, I could say I want to evaluate this block of code. I could say Control comma B. Notice at the bottom over on the right, it outputs 3. So that's so you can evaluate individual blocks of code, or you can read in an entire file. Now that the REPL has this entire file read in, I can go, because if you look at the code on the left, it's declaring a namespace, some global variables, it's defining some functions, and then at the bottom, that's where the work is kind of happening. So since that's already all been evaluated by the REPL, I can say Control comma B, evaluate that block of code, and then once again Oops. I wonder if my little addition there messed something up, so bear with me one moment. Yeah, so apologize for that little bug there, but basically I just said Control-B, evaluate that block of code, and up pops the Welcome to Clojure Bridge thing again. So that just gives you a really quick intro into how just with one plugin you can get a REPL, you can evaluate code in the REPL, all within Sublime Text, to get started if you really like Sublime Text and you're used to that. So feel free to drop off now. I have one other kind of general tip I'm going to show, and not related to Clojure, and that is if you go to preferences, if you press Command comma, the preferences in Sublime Text, if you're familiar with it, are text-based. And one thing that I like to do is I like to up the font size a little bit. I've got mine set to 14. Your mileage may vary, so you can define font size there and change it there. The other thing I do is in Ignore Packages, there's usually a little section that says Vintage Mode. If you remove that from there, it makes Sublime Text behave like Vim or VI, so you can hop into insert mode. You can move around with J and K and H and L and all that kind of fun stuff, and most of the other basic Vim commands. And then this vintage start in command mode true, that makes sure that when you open a file or start a new file that you start in command mode. Otherwise you start in insert mode, which is a little bit of a goofy default to me because that's not the way Vim works. And then the last bit, I installed a package that was called, I guess I can pretend that I'm going to remove it. I can say package remove, so you can just see what I've only got a couple things installed. So if you went instead and said, it went and said install package, and you picked solarized color scheme, and you can see in the URL there, the GitHub URL, it says Braver. The one from Braver really matches the real solarized color scheme. And then to turn that setting on, you don't actually have to enter anything in here text-wise in the settings. But if you go to Preferences and Color Scheme, the solarized one shows up here, and then you can pick dark. And then your setup will look like this. So if you've seen other people using Vim or Emacs or any other editor that have kind of this color scheme, that's how you get it going in Sublime Text. So that's my other kind of couple quick tips that are not Clojure related. Yeah, if you have any questions, at ChadHS on Twitter, or drop a comment in the YouTube video, and I'll probably make a couple other videos, at least one for Adam, to get up and running with GitHub's editor in a similar fashion. Thanks.